focusing on e-commerce about 10 years back, it was e-commerce in itself, was a full-fledged strategy. Now it's not anymore. So every company wants to be an omnichannel company, right? So they want to be selling on their own website. They want to be selling in marketplaces, the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Mercado Libres. And it's not rocket science. The marketplace is not rocket science.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Coffee Break podcast. Today we want to talk about how to navigate the complexities of e-commerce so you can focus on growth and run a more efficient business. Joining me on the show today is Siva. He is the founder and CEO of Vserve with over 20 years of experience in e-commerce outsourcing, specifically in the US market, and with an MBA from Oklahoma State and executive training from IIA Bangalore. He brings both global perspective and practical know-how. He's also a 2020 Pioneer Entrepreneurship Award winner and a recognized expert in driving e-commerce growth through smart outsourcing strategies. So let's welcome him to the show. Hi, Siva. How are you today?
Hey, thanks, Klaus. Thanks for having me here. Excited to be talking to you.
Let's dive right into it. So e-commerce can be really tough to manage, specifically with all the moving parts, inventory, shipping, selling on multiple platforms. What do you see as the biggest struggle that brands face when trying to keep everything running smoothly?
Yeah, I think maybe there are like stages through which brands evolve. The first stage that the brands kind of have to tackle is the product market fit, right? So, and then in that stage, it's all about getting your technology right, making sure your products is from the customers like it, and then you're able to kind of market and sell yourself effectively to the customer. So that's kind of the first stage. And then once the companies get past that stage and establish product market fit, then the conversation usually switches to, hey, how do I, optimize for EBITDA? How do I optimize for, returns on ad spend? How do I optimize for, improving profitability and improving sales? And then as the brand matures, it's all about, brand extensions. How do I use the brand to improve the mix of products that I can sell to the customer? So these are like different conversations that the companies have as in their life cycle, and as the challenges are very different in each stage, and for us, we work with companies from all the three stages, Klaus, and we understand those conversations are a little different. When we're starting off, it's all about helping them get to the market the fastest way possible, running, experiments, making sure, you're kind of bootstrapping the sales effort. So that way, we're able to kind of quickly find that market fit. And then as the value proposition gets more defined, as the companies, have that fit, then, the conversations turned about, how do we have the best quality resources at the best price? So, we can get the best results for them. How do we get the products shipped in quickly? How do we make sure they're able to improve the customer satisfaction? So it's all about that. And then as the conversation progresses, we start helping them with sourcing better products. Getting them the right mix of products from across the world. So we stay with them throughout the journey cycle as the challenges evolve. And e-commerce, we've seen, it can be a very profitable business, as long as you're able to kind of evolve through those three stages, with the right partners, with the right suppliers. That's how I see it, yes.
I think that's a very good overview about the different stages that you've been into. And I'm a big fan of outsourcing. I always say is you need to understand your business first, and you need to do everything in your business first in the beginning, but then find somebody who's better than you, and then they take over. So when it comes to outsourcing, obviously with the different stages, and I want to touch a little bit on supply chain management. I think that's something where a lot of brands struggle with. Can you give me an overview on how you help with that?
Yeah, supply chain is a big piece of, like you said, probably it kind of becomes more critical as the brand evolves and grows. And supply chain management is all about, establishing your vendors, making sure you're sourcing from the right vendors, making sure your product gets to the customers on time, making sure your returns are handled right. So there's a whole bunch of activities that go in to do this. And many of this, there's technology that goes in, into into it, enabling more automation. AI plays a big role. But in spite of all of that, the human in the loop is still a critical piece of the conversation. And where we come in is bringing those resources along with the technology into the conversation. So our customers, who are the e-commerce companies, are able to leverage on our resources, our technology, their technology, and really make sure that we bring out the best for our customers. So that's kind of how we see it, where we bring in the right resource, right capabilities at the right time, and right, like you rightly pointed out, it's important that you work with the right partner in establishing that product market fit, and then outsource the right way, versus looking at outsourcing as a way to solve a problem. So that's often not how it's done. You still need to find the product market fit. You need to still make sure you have a robust business, and then outsourcing is a support ecosystem that we can help build. So you can improve your profitability, you can improve your margins, you can improve your time to market, you can improve your ability to serve your customers better, and so forth. So it's part of the mix, but it's not the only thing that's going to make your business work plus. Yes.
No, that makes perfect sense. Now, a lot of brands at some point, they start selling multi-channel. They start selling on Shopify, Amazon, Walmart, all the retail platforms that are out there. And I think it's become tricky because then everything has to grow. So not only supply chain management, but obviously customer support has to grow, and so on and so forth. So what's the biggest problem you see that shifting these operations to the next level brings with it?
Yeah, I think you brought in a great point. Where back when we started focusing on e-commerce about 10 years back, it was e-commerce in itself, was a full-fledged strategy. Now it's not anymore. So every company wants to be an omnichannel company, right? So they want to be selling on their own website. They want to be selling in marketplaces, the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Mercado Libres, so many marketplaces. And then they also want to have a brick and mortar strategy, because they've realized that e-commerce is about 25-30% of the market. So you still have the other 75 that you want to address, and this number is even smaller in some of the developing countries versus the more advanced countries. The conversation has really become, one of omni-channel. So now, we're no longer a niche company, because if we go in and say e-commerce, everybody has an e-commerce site, everybody has an e-commerce strategy. So it's basically become mainstream, but at the same time, it's mainstream as an omni-channel strategy, where, for instance, for some of our customers, we would help run their e-commerce website, but also at the same time help them, take their products to Amazon, to Walmart. So we're Walmart partners, official Walmart partners. We're Amazon partners. So we're able to kind of take, their products to the marketplaces, and it's not rocket science. The marketplace is not rocket science, but everybody has their own quirks. They have their own kind of way of doing things, and marketplaces don't like it if you don't exactly follow their rules, which is very frustrating many times. So again, those are areas where we're able to bring in experts who can support them, who can help them navigate the nuances of the marketplace. And then even beyond that, once you get in the supply chain space, we also kind of helping them with the brick and mortar delivery as well, because now in the omni-channel setup, the supply chain is pretty much the same. Some of this delivery happens to the e-commerce side, some of the delivery happens to the brick and mortar side. So again, we have experts, resources, technology to kind of help them deliver. So we're able to kind of help them in all these three pieces. And now it's every company pretty much that we work with have an omni-channel strategy, and that's where the world is moving towards. It's most of even the D2C brands who have had huge success in the D2C world have realized that they still need to kind of reach out and become omni-channel very fast.
Mm-hmm. I tend to disagree that you said that Amazon is not rocket science. I think it is. And you're an Amazon partner, and I think you're sort of, really you're not really giving it away that this is a science to work on Amazon, and it's not that easy.
I
I
agree.
want to
It's more understanding the rules. So that's kind of where I meant, where you have to kind of have the patience and the discipline to kind of do things the way Amazon wants to do. So then, and that's what I meant. But I agree with what you said. Yes.
And it's more so important to have an outsourcing partner who knows the rules and can help with that. And I think that's a lot where brands struggle, specifically when they come to Amazon, to deal with this kind of universe of rules and regulations with Amazon. And a lot of them are very, very surprised. Now, when it comes to outsourcing and you help with all these stages, business owners might worry a little bbit about losing control. How do you make sure that communication and transparency along the way is up to speed?
Yeah, I think yeah, great question again. So the way we look at outsourcing is we are experts in what we do. Oftentimes, when you say outsource, especially in the US context, is hey, I have a VA in the Philippines, virtual assistant in the Philippines or in India, and I've just kind of hired them on Upwork or through the agency, and then they think that's outsourcing, right? So oftentimes, outsourcing is not just that. It's all about making sure you bring in the best quality of expertise in that domain that you're looking for versus a general admin person who would just come in and do some of the really low end administrative work. So what I mean by that, like for example, if it's Google Ads, right? So do we have the best, smartest person to, you might be running your strategy, but do you have the best and the brightest person to actually go out and implement it? And do they have an ecosystem where they can really thrive and learn from others? So, they can kind of produce the best results. Similarly for, an analyst, in supply chain, or, it could be, a coder in the supply chain domain. So there needs to be an ecosystem where they're learning and growing. There needs to be an ecosystem where they're supported by experts in that domain, and just bringing in administrative assistant is maybe a 5% of the outsourcing potential that you're targeting versus the 100% that you could potentially do. So that's kind of where we see maybe a difference between a lot of companies who just look to get couple of cheap resources and say, hey, that's our outsourcing strategy, versus some of the others who have a very comprehensive approach to outsourcing. And then the way we engage with companies is truly a partnership model where we have resources who are dedicated to the company, who actually kind of live and breathe the company's products, breathe the company's culture. So what that enables them to do is to really become part of that company, understand it day in and day out, and give you a much higher quality of results. And remember, the entire ecosystem is full of experts in this space, so they're also able to constantly learn from the others in the ecosystem, plus understand the culture of the company, understand best practices from across the board. So overall, the company benefits immensely by the team. They're constantly learning from us and vice versa. So it's not really about having a couple of administrative assistants. It's all about having a true partner who invests in the team members, who are able to bring in best practices and then learn and grow with our customers. So that's kind of our approach, and it's really helped us. We're a team of over 600 people now, and we constantly growing, and it's really helped us in this approach. The companies see long-term benefits, so our engagements are mostly multi-year. Some of our longest customers are over a decade old. They've kind of really, gone through the cycles. We've gone through the whole e-commerce wave, COVID, and back now to Omnichannel, and we've kind of worked with them to figure all of this. So they really look at us as true partners versus just, expendable resource. So it's a very holistic, fully managed offering versus maybe a one-off cost-saving kind of engagement cost. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying this for our listeners. I think it is a really mindset shift from I just give something quickly, a gig to Upwork, or I really have a partner. And I see it like you. I have worked with a lot of outsourcing in my business years, and I see my outsourcing partner as part of my team. they are a full-time employee or a part-time employee, but they're a full part of my team when it comes to communication, when it comes to culture, and so on and so forth. So I think that's very, very important to point this out. Now, talk to me about if someone is thinking about outsourcing and they're unsure to start with, what advice would you give them for the first step?
Sure. I think the advantages of outsourcing are very obvious, right? So this massive cost saving and the ability to get access to resources very quickly, and also the ability to scale. So, for instance, a typical mid-market company in the US, which is our typical customer, might have like 25, 30 people in their e-commerce team, versus we have 600 plus. So we're able to bring in scale. Like if they want to grow even 100%, that's like just easy for us. We're able to kind of support them very quickly. So scale is a big advantage. Cost is a big advantage. Best practices. So we work with 40, 50 customers. So we're able to kind of bring in the best practices to the table of what everybody does. So there's a lot of learning between our teams. So and that directly benefits our customers as well. So these are kind of some of the obvious benefits. But as it's oftentimes, and you would hear horror stories about, hey, I tried outsourcing, it failed. My administrative assistant couldn't understand English, or he or she wouldn't kind of give me the quality of work that I thought they would. So these are kind of some of the repetitive themes I hear from companies who kind of fail in that effort of bringing in the right resources. And what I really tell them is, hey, you got to do this right. And what I mean by that is, number one, you have to have a clear process defined for your partner. If you don't know where you want to go, the partner doesn't know where you want to go. And if you get mad at the partner for not knowing where you want to go, maybe the partner will not run the business for you. So it's not a substitute for running a business. So that's number one. So you need to know where you want to go and what the path is. And then we often are able to work collaboratively to improve the output. We're able to improve the results, but we can't kind of find you the path. You have to be able to tell us where you want to go. So that's number one. A lot of companies just assume that, hey, I got this company and they're going to run my businesses. So that doesn't happen. It definitely it is hard to kind of recover from that mindset. So that's important. The second is, you have to treat your partner as a true partner and help them understand the context, help them give the bigger picture of the business, help their team members understand where they're going, versus trying to say, hey, here's a spreadsheet, here's the data that needs to be filled, here's the analysis, and then give it back to me without understanding, why we're doing it, what's the end result, what we're going to do with that result as a next step. So this context is very important, and in true partnership, this context really helps our teams and their teams to kind of really put their heads together and come up with the best results, versus a siloed approach by saying, hey, here are the 3 things that somebody else would do, and then it come back and then we do it. Oftentimes, those kind of engagements are much harder to give that improved benefit that true outsourcing partnership can give. And then the third is, you have to understand that this team is potentially working several hundred, several thousand miles away from you. There's usually, a cultural difference. So it's usually not like a perfect fit day one. There's a process, just like any partner that you would work with. There's a process to learn from each other, make sure we understand each other, and our kind of shared goals. And then once that happens, then it's benefit that kind of recurs over months and over years. But you need to have that little bit of patience for the first few weeks and maybe a couple of months to kind of help with the learning, the training, to make sure everybody kind of comes together as one team. And oftentimes I see companies get frustrated, especially middle management and junior management. They probably don't have the buy-in as well as, say, the owner or the senior management, and then it kind of gets hard for us to kind of find that fit. So usually it helps if the owner or senior management kind of would get involved in the early stages to make sure that that there's strong alignment between everybody. So those are some of the things that we have seen, Klaus, that kind of maybe are good initial best practices that you could put in place, when you start off an engagement, and then there's a good chance for success. Yes.
I think that was a perfect masterclass on how to outsource. And I totally agree with you. You need to be patient, you need to be fair, and you need to give your partner a chance to come up to speed with your company, with your messaging and all of that. And then you have a long-term partner. I've seen it in my professional life as well, that people are just not patient and then things just go down the drain. So for our listeners, listen to this twice. This is a masterclass on how to approach outsourcing. Now, you touched a bit on your customers. Tell me, who's your perfect customer?
Sure. So our focus is, like I said, the mid market in the US. So we typically work very well with B2B customers, and in the industrial distribution space, in the hardware and home improvement space. So those are some of our ideal customers. A mid market is anywhere between, say, 10-20 million to about 100-150 million. So that's kind of our size. But having said that, we also work with a number of startups, because as a company we've realized that a lot of these startups do grow into that $10-20 million companies very quickly. And we've also been fortunate to, have some of those customers with us even today, that we started with them with, just a few $1,000s of, engagement as we started. So we're very cognizant of the fact that, today's startups would be, our ideal customers in the next, few months and years. So we do work with a number of them, as long as it's a shared understanding of what success is. We're very flexible, we in terms of revenue, headcount. So we were able to kind of really make sure we go out of way to, support them in their growth process. So we bootstrap. We started off with a couple of people, and now, we are here. So we understand that journey as a startup that grew as well. So we're very supportive, and we really look at them as our partners in their growth as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, listeners want to hear about your pricing structure. How does that work?
Yeah, so we have multiple pricing formats. Again, we are bringing in resources to the table, but also understand that automation is important for success. So we are automation first resources. So our resources would come in, but also with a strategy to automate what you're doing, and then be that human in the loop. So usually our pricing is either a retainer pricing, which is, again, a dedicated team, long-term engagement, but at the same time delivering results on pre-agreed time frame. So if it could be monthly, weekly, quarterly, whatever that is, we take responsibility for results, and then we ensure we deliver. But the engagement is more fixed resource engagement, because then the companies feel that gives them a chance for the people to kind of understand the culture, become a part of the team. So that's one way to do it. It's been very successful. A lot of our long-term engagements go that route, because they get that little bit of visibility and control over the teams, the resources, the technology, but at the same time we still take responsibility for results. So it's a good mix of control versus also having accountability. So that's one model. The other model is more project based, which is the scope is defined. Hey, it's a build out, and here's what I need at the end of the build out, or it's an upgrade, and here's what I need at the end of the upgrade, and we would do a fixed bid, and the customers would approve it. So we are flexible on both models, but customers who look at a little bit more long term engage with us more on the fixed contracts versus project based.
Mm-hmm. But I like that you basically with them on all the stages in a business, and that you're not only an outsourced partner, but you also bring a lot of know-how experience on board. So it's far more, and obviously that's a massive step to grow a brand, is to have a partner who actually can help you and point you in the right direction there. Now, Siva, before our coffee break comes to an end today, is there anything you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
No, Klaus, thanks for some of those insightful questions. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed our conversation. I think, overall, looking back at what's really worked for our customers, just to summarize, I think it's, if you want to work with a true outsourcing partner, it's all about trusting them and treating them as true partners. Have a little bit of patience. So the culture of the two companies and the two teams blend in together, and then once you're able to kind of get past that stage, we've proven over and over again over several 100 companies that there's massive benefits that any e-commerce player can get by having that true engagement. So that's kind of how I see it. Yes.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I would summarize and then repeat myself. I'm a big fan of outsourcing. I've done it many, many times. And if you're patient, I really want to highlight this here, you will see good results. Where can people go and find more out about you guys?
Sure. Our website is vservesolution.com. Please visit our website. We're on LinkedIn. We're on social media. Happy to have a conversation if you'd want to reach out to me as well. My email is siva@vservesolution.com. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I will jump into a call.
Perfect. I will put the links in the show notes as always. Then you're just one click away. Siva, thanks so much for your time today. I hope a lot of people will reach out to you, and I'm sure they will see good results. Thanks so much for your time today.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Klaus. Bye-bye. Great talking to you.